THCRADEO. Shit just got real.
Okay, so for the people who don't know, I'm going to introduce you to a very powerful and positive young woman that I had the opportunity of meeting recently during a trip where we went and learned some wonderful things that we're going to bring back to some individuals that we know within our communities and hopefully build something more on a socialism type of thing and move people away from capitalism. But she had an event yesterday in Atlanta, and I want her to introduce herself and to be able to tell you about that event. Please tell the people who you are, my friend.
Hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Nelini Stamp. I am 27 years old, and I am one of the co-directors and founders of RISEUP Georgia, a spanking new community-based organization that is fighting for our rights.
And when did RISEUP start? It just started this year. You guys came together?
Yes.
Okay. And you're a co-founder. So who are the other founders with you in this organization?
Yes. My co-founder is Shabnam Bashiri, who's born and raised in Roswell, Georgia, in the suburbs. And she's lived here all her life as the child of Iranian immigrants, and was really heavily involved with the housing movement, taking over, using direct action to take over foreclosed homes. Mm-hmm. So people could live in them, and also protecting people from getting foreclosed on, so doing blockades. And her and I have been talking for the last year with some other folks, such as Kamal Franklin and Tim Franzen and some of the other members of the community, and we got together and co-founded RISEUP this summer and made a soft launch this fall, where we were doing some electoral work. But as we all know, electoral work is just one piece of a larger puzzle, and at this point, we need to be on the streets. Right. So, yeah, we've been figuring out over the last couple months, because we started as wanting to make a really big impact on the mayoral election with our issues, not necessarily endorsing anybody or being behind a candidate, but getting our issues to be talked about in the city of Atlanta. And those issues included housing, affordable housing, transportation, and, of course, the criminalization of Black and brown youth in this country.
Okay, so that leads us to one of your events that you had yesterday. Mm-hmm. So explain that to me, because I'm upset that I wasn't able to participate. I was actually finishing a few things. Once we saw the pictures, I was like, shit, I should have been there. So please. So while we were thinking, and we had, there's been a lot of action and a lot of new people who have been newly activated in Georgia, outraged by what's happening in this community, outraged by the Ferguson decision, outraged about the lack to indict both Daniel Pantaleo, who murdered Eric Garner, and Darren Wilson, who murdered Mike Brown. There's been a lot of energy. So we got together a couple weeks ago and did nonviolent direct action training for the community, for just folks to be able to do their own action and take it to the streets. And there, people were like, well, what do we want to do something together? Because people were meeting each other and stuff. And so we came up with this kind of thing that we're calling holiday intervention / Black Christmas. Okay.
Where over the next 2 weeks before Christmas and before the holiday season, we want to make an impact, because retail and tourism make the most amount of money in this season. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things in Atlanta to tour. There's the CNN Center. There is Centennial Park.
There's the Coca-Cola building.
Exactly. Civil rights museums, all that stuff. And all of those people, particularly CNN, with the coverage that they've been giving, Ferguson, calling a lot of stuff riots, jumping the gun, not giving our fair people a chance to speak out,
right?
And reporting really awful things, and their history of reporting awful things, especially with the Palestinian conflict. And, Coca-Cola, I could tell you all of the long list of things that Coca-Cola does, but we wanted to make an impact by starting to target tourism and shopping, because we want to make a dent in the economic impact in Atlanta.
Okay.
So last night, about 70 to 100 of us gathered at Underground Atlanta, and we said, everybody wear black, we're blacked out,
and we had a silent march. The reason why we called it a silent march and, we agreed as a community to do it silently was because this holiday season, a lot of people are not going to have their family members there because they lost their lives to police brutality and police violence or are locked up and incarcerated.
Okay.
And we know how much that means to those families. Holiday season is a big time where people come in, they break bread, you share stories with your family. It's more than just the gift giving that this country wants us to just buy into, right?
Very true,
and so we understand that, it's very serious. So we wanted to, even though we expressed our anger, we wanted to march there silently so nobody could stop us. So 100 of us marched down the streets to downtown Atlanta with black tape on our mouths, just saying this is a blackout ATL. This is the start of our Black Christmas kind of stuff. And we went into the CNN Center. It was also, the CNN Center is connected to Phillips Arena where the Hawks play, the Atlanta Hawks, and it was a game night. And, what we wanted to show all the people who were going about their business day to day, going to a Hawks game, that we're still out here and that Black lives do matter.
Right.
And we're going to still be out here. So we went into the CNN Center, got in, and, another reason we tactically were silent was also because it would get us probably in the door quicker.
Mm-hmm.
We all rushed into the door. We got stopped by police, as soon as we got up the stairs. So we said we were going to still
before you could even get past the stairs, they were waiting for you upstairs.
Yeah, well, they saw us and they came to us because there's a little mini micro police station in the CNN Center, which to me is just messed up because people take tours there. I don't know why there would be a police station in the middle of the CNN Center, in the middle of a food court. So right before we hit the food court, police officers came up to us and they asked me they said, we have to leave. I turned my back on them, had the police liaison talk to them, and started to recite a poem that I wrote about how America never cared about us. And, we counted to 11 as a community, which is the 11th time that Eric Garner said, I can't breathe.
Wow.
And then we did a die-in. And once we did that die-in, the police liaison was talking to the police, just saying, hey, we're not going. They started to bring down the gate of the CNN Center.
You are kidding me.
They basically shut it down. Yes. We basically effectively shut it down, which is what we wanted to do. So they brought down the gate right as soon as we did the die-in, because I guess they realized we weren't leaving until we were, speaking our piece, saying our words.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we were participating in the die-in, because a lot of die-ins have happened,
right,
and we wanted to make it meaningful, so we read every name that we could find. Some of this information, the problem with a lot of these killings and murders is that it's not kept in database and in records.
Yeah, it's not recorded,
so,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we read everyone we could find, everyone that also, both that we made a list that was found online, as well as added to the ones we knew we weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And we read a list of everyone who's been killed since Amadou Diallo, and ended with Amadou Diallo. Particularly, there wasn't any particular reason, but that's the most. After Amadou Diallo, there's a little bit, at least more research on it.
Right.
So we could find more names.
How many names were there? How many names were there?
There were about, I think there were 58, 59.
Wow.
And again, those are just ones that we could find.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of ones that we don't know about, and these were all unarmed instances. There's a lot of ones one of the lists didn't include Israel Risa Hernandez because he was graffitiing. They don't necessarily count that as unarmed in some cases, which is BS. He had a can of paint. The worst he could do to an officer is spray paint
with
him.
some paint. Exactly.
Right. So, and it didn't include. And we did include the young man by the name. Well, Debs is his graffiti name, but Delbert Rodriguez Gutierrez, who unfortunately died in police, in the hospital after being run over a couple of days ago. He was run over, I think, on December 5th. The Miami Police Department ran over this 21-year-old kid who was graffitiing, and then 2 days later, he died in intensive care.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's another graffiti artist in Miami that they just think that they can kill. So we stood there, we had that moment, and then we sang this song that, is an old call and response song, which is like, Mama, Mama, can't you see what police have done to me? And we sang that, and we stood there. We held our ground. There were people who were looking at us, people who were having drinks at the bar before they were going to the Hawks game.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of, while we were going down the streets, and even when we entered, people were saying, hands up, don't shoot to us. Like, we had
awesome.
People who were, because we were silent, like, we could hear other people.
That was going to be my question.
Right.
Like, did you feel that the people in the community or that were within the CNN area were in support of what you were doing, or was there, animosity? Did you seem like they were resisting, but it seems like they were supporting?
There was, for the most part, there were supporters. I think there were, a couple people who just, took their children and just, like, tried to run, tried to, like, scurry.
Mm-hmm.
And those couple of people, but a lot of people were, like, there were people who were really angry. Like, when we first left and we were marching down Marietta Street, there were people who were just like, I'm tired of this shit. Like, the police are, people know, but there was this guy who was like, one of us, one of the folks on our march went over to him and was trying to talk to him to just see, where he was coming from, what he was doing, what he wanted to do. And it was just, people were angry. Like, you could just hear it in the streets. And I think people were just happy we were doing that, happy that we were still out, still keeping the drumbeat. And we took the streets. Like, we did not march on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
The police didn't interfere with us, but we took the streets because it's not necessarily, a lot of people talk about why shutting down highways and why shutting down streets, but it's because until people realize and do something about it, we need to shut that stuff down.
That's right.
Because people can go about their normal lives and maybe they're inconvenienced for 10 minutes, but I'm inconvenienced every day because I live as a Black woman in this world.
That's right. And I think the inconvenience is important because if I don't, then you will continue to live your life as if it's just my problem and not yours. And if we're going to share this space and say that America is all of ours, which I truly don't believe, but if that's what you're going to say, then accept this inconvenience. I truly feel that way. Accept it. Embrace it because it's not going to stop. And I think we're starting to really pay attention to the fact that all over this country, people are standing up and saying enough. And not just people of color. We have allies, white allies and individuals who understand that this is an unjust system that we're banging against. And I think that's the important thing. I think that's what we need to keep pressing and letting people know. And we need these individuals who have platforms to stand up and use them. And
that's right.
Yeah. So I'm so appreciative of the fact that you took the time out to, to let us know what the event was about, to tell us about your organization. I want you to recite the poem that you did yesterday. I want you to do that before you leave. And then I also want you to provide some contact information so people know how to contact you in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, so that they can, get involved and become more engaged. It is our job to get these people activated because this is all of our fight.
Absolutely. So I will recite this poem, and before I say that, we're going to continue, for anybody who's interested, we're going to continue doing stuff over the next 2 weeks, which is going to lead up to a more confrontational action that I cannot say publicly yet, but on the 20th, people will know there'll be a meetup location for folks who want to support and participate.
Okay.
And you can find all that information at riseupga.org.
Okay.
Again, riseupga.org, and you can find us on Facebook at Facebook.com/riseupga.
Awesome. Do you guys also tweet?
Yes, we have a Twitter, which is our Twitter handle is at riseupgeorgia. Georgia spelled out in full.
Thank you so much, Nelini. I love you. I just fell in love with you as a person when I met you because I like genuine people, and I can tell that you're genuinely in this fight with us all. So please take us out with the poem.
Oh, thank you so much, and I appreciate you so much, Detric, and everything that you do, and everything that you're saying. Always, I follow your social media, and it's just truth to power. So I'm really happy that I could join y'all today. The United States never cared about me. They never cared about who I could be. There has been a war on bodies like mine, bodies that are regulated, bodies that die. I don't trust the system that allows me to be profiled. The system that says I'm a criminal, and the whole world can watch while my people are eliminated. The whole world will watch while our people are discriminated against. I'm Black, Latina, a woman, and most folks would say I'm uneducated. Well, guess what? It's time for our people to rise. This is a moment for white people to step aside and stand with us, but give us our space, because these United States were never meant for me.
I'm excited. Rise up, people. You know what it is. This is your girl. This is Detric the Fox, and this is THC Radio. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye, Nelini.
Yeah. Bye.
You gotta ask yourself one question. Do you know who you're listening to? Punk? Well, do ya? THC Radio. Shit just got real.